And the reaction has been swift. For the first time in over 2 decades, the public mood in India has turned cold and hostile towards the United States and at Trump. This is no longer about tariffs or trade, it's personal. The India-US relationship, built painstakingly over 25 years across governments and generations, has just hit a Trump-shaped wall. And in doing so, it has reminded 2 full generations since of Indians about the old distrust, about why this relationship has always been shadowed by history. From Nixon's hostility to Clinton's sanctions to Bush's balancing act during Kargil, Indians have not forgotten. And now even India's Gen Z stand reminded of America's trademark duplicity. Trump may not be the same thing as the United States, but today it's difficult to distinguish. Trump may think this is business as usual, that he's just doing what he does best, throw a fit, slam the table and wait for the other side to beg for a deal. But India isn't flinching, is it? Because this isn't business. This is about respect and about dignity. This is about India being disrespected in public by a US president who thinks abuse is a form of negotiation. Well, it isn't. And India has just made that painfully clear to Trump. Parliament is united. MPs from across the aisle have condemned Trump's outburst. Apart from Rahul Gandhi's now infamous endorsement of Trump's earlier rant about the economy, a political misstep his party will be praying has faded from memory, India has by and large responded with rare political unity, and that should be an achievement for Trump. The External Affairs Ministry's unusually sharp statement would have been unthinkable just 1 week ago. The Indian Army posted a decades-old newspaper clip on social media reminding the world how America armed Pakistan in the run-up to 1971. Trust me, it was not a coincidence. This is no longer about geopolitics. Trump has displayed open contempt, and for the first time, India has responded with open consequences. And now for the big fact check of Trump. Remember, Trump over the last few days has been spreading this narrative that India is somehow a tariff tyrant, a country that is completely unfriendly to trade and business because of its record high tariffs. In the next 60 seconds, I'm going to completely bust that myth with data, not my opinion, with data. India is not the most protectionist economy, and I'm going to prove it to you with some data and figures. The mean tariff from India is 4.6% lower than many other countries, and I will show you where that actually stands. A big portion of imports is duty-free from the United States at this point of time. Trump never mentions that. 0 or low duty on key US exports. Trump does not mention that. Low duties on US oil, coal, pharmaceuticals, as well as machinery. Trump makes no mention of that, even though those are big industries in the United States. India is one of the most open and accessible markets for the United States. Trump never mentions that, and I will prove that with data, because 45% of US exports to India face a tariff of under 5%. Have you ever heard Trump mention that? He never will, for obvious reasons. Steady tariff reduction has been taking place on US exports to India since 1991, and I will show you where those figures actually stand, because US imposes very high tariffs in sensitive sectors. The US under Trump pretends like it has no tariffs. It's India that does all of it. I will show you how wrong Trump is. Over 100% US tariffs on dairy, agriculture, and the automotive sector. Now let's get on to some even more important data, because remember, Trump says that the mean tariff in India makes India absolutely the most unfriendly country to do trade with. Well, take a look at some of America's other big trading partners. India stands at 4.6% mean tariff. The EU itself is at 5%, Vietnam 5.1%, Indonesia 5.7%, and Bangladesh almost double of that at 10.6%. So India is by no means the biggest as far as that is concerned. Now let's show you how America has benefited from lower tariffs in India. Let's go item by item to show you how Trump and previous administrations beyond the narrative have actually benefited. Motorcycles, the previous duty was 50, now it's 40. 50 to 30, it's gone. That's above 1600 cc. Other items as well have benefited from lower tariffs from India. Bourbon whiskey, 150% earlier, 100 now. Switches 20 to 10. Flavors and essences have gone down by a factor of 5 from 100% to just 20%. So it's not like tariffs have not been going down. Now, here are the high tariff products in the United States. You will never, ever see Trump or his chorus line of congressmen ever talking about these products that are exported from the United States that see these incredibly high tariffs. Look at this. Sour cream, 197%. Tobacco, 183%. Peanut butter, 131%. Rum and tequila, 51%. Whey protein and whey, 39%. Milk and cream, 35%. Cheese, 23%. Leather and footwear, nearly 24%, and auto at 19.28%. Some of the highest tariffs in the world, courtesy Trump's America. And finally, agri-tariffs. Remember, every country in the world protects its agriculture, but Trump makes it look like India is unique in protecting its agricultural industry. Just take a look at some of these figures to give you a sense of it. And these I've chosen countries that have agricultural economies. Switzerland, 28.5%. Norway, 31.1%. 23.5% on Iceland. Korea is 57%. And India is 39%. So these are the facts that Trump will never tell you. This is the narrative, very much part of the muscle flexing to try and paint India, to defame India as a tariff tyrant. Well, the numbers speak for themselves. So Donald Trump has perhaps learnt in the last 24 hours that this is not an India that is willing to simply put aside his distasteful, abusive and disrespectful tweets drenched in arrogance and contempt as just signature Trump, an unpredictable politician, and this is his style in how to get the deal, and this is muscle flexing and psychological mind games, because India feels disrespected. And what Trump has actually managed to do, which few have managed to do, at least in the last 25 years, is unite India in a very strange way. We're seeing members of parliament across party lines talk against Trump. We're seeing unity in the political system. You're even seeing the Indian army, which usually stays the hell out of all these things, tweeting sort of an oblique pot shot aimed at the United States and Trump, reminding an entire generation of how Trump's current behavior is an echo of why India has always distrusted the United States, the history of distrust that actually exists. Let's see what some of India's best commentators think about this. Tehseen Poonawala is a political analyst. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, political analyst, senior fellow of IPCS. Both good friends, both very, very vocal commentators on Trump, American affairs, and everything in between. Tehseen, I'll kick it off with you. Trump has managed to do something quite difficult. The India-US relationship is seen overwhelmingly positively by most Indians. It's a relationship and a friendship that has been on the rise, no matter which metric you measure it by. In the last 48 hours, the kind of damage that has been done and the way it has, spread far and wide, obviously through social media as well, the mood has turned sour. It looks like Trump has completely misread India here.
Shiv, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. Good evening to you, to all your NDTV viewers, and to Abhijit. I would like to thank President Trump, because President Trump has done something that I think no one else has managed to do. Today, we don't speak as a Congress supporter or a BJP supporter, a Hindi speaker or a non-Hindi speaker, as a man or woman, as a North Indian or South Indian. We speak simply as Indians and children of Ma Bharati. And what President Trump has managed to do is sour and leave a bad taste in 1.4 billion mouths. This isn't about United States of America, and therefore I really appreciate your starting remarks, because this is President Trump throwing a tantrum with India. And you know what? Donald is delusional. Let me put this in black and white. You're right, Indian and American relationships, because we share same values, we have certain shared ideas and goals, it was on the rise right from whether it's Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, Manmohan Singh ji, or Prime Minister Modi. They've all worked towards enhancing cooperation between these two nations. But let's look at the logic of what President Trump is saying. He criticizes India for being a member of BRICS, for example. But India being a member of BRICS is an advantage to Western democracies. he criticizes India for buying oil from Russia, when the United States of America actually wanted India to buy oil so that the global prices remain stable. President Trump is not just harming India, he's harming the United States of America. Today, one of the reasons that the United States of America is such a superpower in a unipolar world is because talent from across the world goes to the United States of America and contributes to the United States of America. And this juvenile behavior of this trade wars, which is not steeped in economy, but in kindergarten mathematics, gone wrong.
And it's dangerous, Tehseen, because you've got an entire sort of chorus line of cheerleading congressmen and congresswomen on the back of what Trump said about India, saying cancel H-1B, stop the H-1B visa system, make India pay, and all these belligerent things, which are very, very damaging and has had a chilling effect on relations. Abhijit, do you think this is all, smoke and mirrors, signature Trump, we don't need to overreact, but the Indian system is reacting. That MEA statement that came out yesterday, the Indian Army's tweet today, at a smaller level, the general mood in the system as well, shows that there are consequences to what Trump said.
There are always consequences to what Trump says. The thing is, our reaction's been very proportionate to the provocation.
Yeah.
This man feeds off PR. His oxygen is PR. You're denying him that oxygen. What he really wanted was a call from Modi as a supplicant so he could say, oh, they came begging, Girgidaye hui aaye. I don't know what the exact English translation of Girgidaye ke aaye is, but something like that, which he could then pass off as a major victory. See, we've denied him that victory, number one. Number two, just remember about 2 months back, the way in which Zelensky was humiliated, not just once, but repeatedly. And today he's willing to burn his relations with India for the sake of that same Zelensky. I think we might be looking at, the advanced onset of senility and the kind of cognitive decline. Sometimes goes with Trump, because if you read his book, The Art of the Deal, this seems to be against his own Art of the Deal, the hypothesis he puts out in The Art of the Deal, that you have to understand what the bigger prize is and be willing to sacrifice the smaller prize for it. So congratulations to him.
Yeah.
Now, if we go by this need to avoid short-term pain, we would have never tested our nuclear weapons in 1998. We understood there was going to be short-term pain. We understood that would take about a year or so to overcome that short-term pain. We absorbed that short-term pain. And we did what we did, and finally we've been accepted for it.
Yeah.
Why do we think that, this time, India today in 2025 is not the India of 1998, 99. Remember, in 99, we had to send SOSs out for emergency weapons and things like that. This time, we didn't even have to do that.
Correct.
We're a much stronger economy. We can take the pain. I really wish, all the Rudalis would really stop being so Rudali in public. This is totally manageable. Look, the MEA is calm. The Ministry of Finance is calm. Nobody out here is panicking. Nobody is even taking this seriously.
Very true, yeah.
Very good reason.
Tehseen, the political unity that we've talked about, and I'll come to some of the Rudalis and things that Abhijit was referring to right now. But, apart from Rahul Gandhi, who kind of embarrassingly jumped on what Trump said about the dead economy, I think we can safely say that the politicians have kind of come together. You've seen Manish Tiwari, you've seen Tharoor, you've seen the others pretty much speak in one voice as far as Trump is concerned. And that is perhaps the crown jewel this week of what Trump has achieved. Parliament speaking in one voice as far as Trump is concerned.
Because anyone who's mature understands we don't have a US problem. We have a Trump problem. The two are distinctively distinct. And Trump may get his kicks and his kinks by being called daddy. But India is a civilization that is 5,000 years ago. India existed, Bharat existed when there wasn't a United States of America, and India will continue to exist in the future. I don't disregard what President Trump is doing. Of course, he will hurt us in the short term. Abhijit is bang on. We export about $87 billion. That would hurt us. There would be some short-term pain. But the fact is, we have a spine. And we've stood up. We've stood up every single time since 47 when we had challenges. And we will continue to stand up. We will not go about digging for crypto, engaging people convicted in the United States of America for conning fellow Americans in crypto scams and putting them on the cryptocurrency, crypto boards of failed nations that export terrorism. And I hope President Trump realizes that that 3 or 4 people who've worked with his family can be engaged by hostile nation and enemy nation that carried out 9/11 in the United States of America to mine his cryptocurrencies, but India will continue to survive and thrive. And just for common sense, why would India want a BRICS currency?
Yeah.
India doesn't even want a BRICS currency.
Correct.
The man is not even talking sense. I can understand if he's a legitimate concern. Even the concern is not legitimate. India would not want a BRICS currency. So what is his problem?
Very true. You know, Abhijit, one of the things we hear very often in this conversation is, at least in the last 24 hours, is, you know, India has spoken in the only language that a bully understands. But the other question, of course, is how much further can this actually go? Because, you know, some very contemptuous things have been said. You know, people are still in shock that Trump could have said these things out in public. Yes, there is one view that, okay, this is the art of the deal. This is how he negotiates. This is his entire brand of, muscle flexing before arriving at the kind of deal he wants. But how much further down the road can India go on this particular track with Trump?
Look, we don't have to go very far down the track, because remember, he is violating every principle he writes about in The Art of the Deal. You never escalate to the point where de-escalation becomes impossible. He's just making it impossible for himself to start de-escalating on this. And at some point, the stress in the economy will show. In that sense, I'm very, very glad when the US Deputy Chief of Staff went on some news channel yesterday and said, oh, they're immigration cheaters, and then Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, these two people, they are known to be, you know, the sort of pivot core, if you want to call it that, of the MAGA crowd, who then put out the talking points. Now, when they talk about H-1B, excellent. You know, what I say is, if you're willing to take short-term pain, for all green cards and H-1Bs, tell them if they don't return to India within a month, you will cancel their passports and they will be considered stateless. What happens to America then? Are you willing to absorb that pain? And what happens to American tech companies then? What happens to the green card then? Because then America's choice will be, do you retain that workforce, in which case you have to promise them permanent citizenship anyway. Imagine how that rebounds back on the Marjorie Taylor Greene crowd. Right. There are many, many things we can do. I think what we're trying to do right now is act like a mature, responsible power. We're not going to respond to every dog on the street barking. We are not going to go around the path of horizontal escalation. We're going to stick to vertical escalation. And we're going to treat him with the contempt he deserves. You know, agar gali ka kutta bhaunk raha hai, you don't take a brick and throw it at it. You just let the dog bark, because that is what dogs do.
But one of the bricks that was thrown today, and you know, everyone saw it, I spotted it in the morning. I actually thought it was fake until I realized it was real. It was a tweet from the Indian Army's Eastern Command. I was very impressed because, you know, the Army has a wonderful social media kind of exercise of doing these throwbacks. You know, this day, that year, this day in history, especially when it comes to war, etc. And to do with the 1971 war, they had a newspaper clipping today as a tweet saying this day, that year. And it was about how the US has armed and funded Pakistan to the extent of billions of dollars in the run-up to the 1971 war. Now, General Shukla is with us, a very well-known commentator on all of these strategic affairs. So I want to get his view. General Shukla, obviously this Indian Army tweet was not a coincidence. There's a huge context in which this tweet happened. What did you think? Part of the Indian response to Trump? Definitely some messaging going on here.
You know, Shiv, there may be a context, but I would just like to labor on this point which Tehseen raised. And I think that is central to the challenge before us. He said, is this a Trump challenge or a wider American problem? So just 3 weeks back, I had gone along with Carnegie to Washington. And there, everybody was assuring us, state, defense, American side, our embassy, that, you know, the mercurial nature of Trump will have no impact on our relationship. And everything under the external mercuriality, if that is a word, was absolutely right. And look what happens. So therefore, you know, I would urge the, you know, Indian strategic commentariat to look at this larger problem. And what is this larger problem in my view? This is a challenge before Indian statecraft of how does this aspiring Vishwabandhu navigate its rise through this contest between a declining hegemon and a rising challenger. Now, see, the wider geopolitics must be taken into account. Why do I say the Americans are a declining hegemony. If you take the percentage of global GDP in PPP terms, which is actually a measure of strategic capacities, the Chinese beat the Americans today 19 to 16.
Yeah.
By 2035, it will be 24-14. As glaring as that. The Americans have concluded that they cannot deter USA in Taiwan, and they are not willing to fight a nuclear war, which means what? I think the Americans have decided to walk back from Asia. It's not only Trump, it's the wider MAGA camp, may even be the foreign policy establishment. Which means what? They don't need India to balance China.
Yeah.
And so we are not so important in their strategic calculus. So what do we need to do? I think we need to revisit the metrics of our strategic autonomy.
What does that mean?
What does that mean,
General?
I'll just tell you. I'll tell you, in my view, what it means, and then we'll see what Tehseen and Abhijit think about it.
Yeah.
What that means is this. If you take Sindoor, it was not merely about platforms. It was the wraparound technologies around those platforms. So EW, cyberspace, just take space, how it is becoming so material. Unless you have offensive ISR capacities like Israel has, we did well in Sindoor, but we were relatively blunt. And all these capacities in these domains, where do we get them from? The Russians don't have these kind of high-end capacities.
Yeah.
Their current plight means they can't even offer them to us. So America seems the only option, or at least till some time back, seemed the only
ISR,
option.
yes.
But Indus, X, and Trust are done. So we need to revisit the metrics of our strategic autonomy. And one more point I'd like to make, which I think Harsh Gupta was making on your show the other day. It's a very material point. Unless we increase our defense budgets, build capacities internally, we will always be subject to this, exploitation by the faraway hegemon. The near hegemon is already a problem.
Let me get Tehseen and Abhijit on that. Abhijit, to you first. Autonomy. Focus on that. That's the larger message, no matter which way you look at it. And this is an opportunity to revisit, recalibrate, and refocus.
This autonomy message should have been drilled into us even in 1998 when sanctions were imposed.
I agree.
The issue is, we tend to treat defense as some kind of a silo. Remember, defense, every sector of your economy or government is in fact a complex reflection of how your society is. You cannot get autonomous till you start investing in education. You cannot get autonomous till you remove all the, the choking regulations that Indian industry faces. To this day, in fact, it's become worse with the sort of, powers that are the discretionary powers given to babus and things like that. For example, when Israeli companies were ordered out of China, the Israelis ordered them out of China. There were about 72 of them. All of them were ordered to set up in India. Not one of them set up in India because of the hurdles that they faced. Right. And that was over. This is since 2023 we're talking about. This is not an old story, by the way. So, we have to take that seriously because we will face these hiccups over and over again. I'm sorry, but we don't seem to be taking the long-term strategic vision terribly seriously.
No, I agree with you because, my fear also is, and I'm sorry to oversimplify this, but tomorrow if Trump says something nice and cordial and warm with a lot of camaraderie towards Modi and India, all of this will be forgotten and then we won't be talking about refocusing on strategic autonomy anymore. Quick, Abhijit, and then I'll end with Tehseen.
Sorry, Tehseen, to cut into your time.
Please.
Let me just give you a very simple example if it's tough for our viewers. Take, for example, in India, cars are taxed based on engine power. Right? As opposed to Japan, where they're taxed on size. That is why you have these mini Japanese cars like the Jimnys and Daihatsus and things like that. Now, the problem with taxing based on power is your industry never wants to develop powerful engines, which is why you have not been able to develop a self-sufficient tank engine at the moment. Right? It is simple things like this that our policymakers need to understand. That defense industry and the general public industry are very, very crucially linked at the hip. Defense never provide you with the quantity and bulk that private industry can, that the public market can.
Tehseen,
Shiv, I want to come in 1 minute.
I'll give you the last word, General Shukla. I'll just get a final word from Tehseen first. Tehseen, go ahead.
Yes.
Do you think we can navigate Trump, this is just a a temporary speed bump, or it's an opportunity we cannot miss?
First of all, General Shukla, thank you for your services. It's because of people like you that we are free and independent. So thank you, sir, for your services to the nation.
Great pleasure, great pleasure. Thank you.
Two issues. Every crisis brings an opportunity. So you're right, Shiv. Tomorrow, Trump will suddenly have a Bonhomie and, long lost bros, and we'll be like singing praises of Trump and embarrassing ourselves. Look at this as an opportunity to develop. I won't take too much time. I'd give it to General Shukla. He joined us late. But listen, here's what we need to do. Hey, I have a separate ministry of Ministry of AI and Quantum. General Shukla is right. Your next battle is going to be in the space. We need to develop. One of the reasons China is restrained with us is because India has commendable space technology right now. But we need to develop that further. I myself am in various startups, and it's very sad. Abhijit is right. Babudam forced me to move. We are trying to build a quantum computer cooling system. We had to move to Dubai.
Yeah.
Because of Babudam. Only Babudam. So unless we don't get risk, we make our defense expenditure easier. We allow and encourage entrepreneurship and innovation.
Yeah.
We will not be the first world superpower that we aspire to be and that Indians deserve. So we should not be dependent on any countries. Look at this bump as an opportunity to be self-reliant in the true sense and have a 50 to 500 year vision.
60 seconds to you, General Shukla. Last word to you. A prescription.
Okay, so
a prescription.
Very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, just to underline 3 points which Abhijit and Tehseen both made. One is when we need innovation like never before, regulation is coming back.
Yes.
And I've been screaming about this from rooftops. Hopefully some, some good stuff will happen. See, just last week, US Defense Secretary Hexeth signed an order operationalizing the Debt 201. What is it? CEOs of 4 big tech companies, Palantir, Scale AI, I think Meta, have been inducted as lieutenant colonels into the US Army to drive innovation. They say we want high-tech expertise within the Army.
Yeah.
This point that Abhijit was making, very quickly I want to make this point, the relationship between military industry and civil industry. 2002, Chinese civilian industrial capacities were half of that of the USA. By 2022, they become twice. In consequence, on American admission today, the Chinese military industrial complex is 5 to 6 times more efficient than USA. The Americans don't have 7 days of missiles for a Taiwan contingency. The Chinese are producing 10,000 cruise missiles a week. So I wish we could, deepen those debates. What Tehseen is saying, what Abhijit is saying is so right. We have to really fire this Atmanirbharta and defense with innovation, energy, and enterprise, or we will just not get, this geopolitics right between China, USA, and all that's going around us. It's such a humongous challenge.
And stop treating entrepreneurs as enemies of the nation. Entrepreneurs build a nation. Please build a nation. Tax reforms, GST reforms.
This is incredible. A conversation about geopolitics has brought out layers that I didn't think it was going to bring out. And that's one of the reasons why you 3 brilliant gentlemen were brought on this show. Incredible. I have a prescription in front of me. Anyone who watches this show is going to not only be able to navigate this complex, shape-shifting story with an unpredictable, whimsical, so-called most powerful man in the world, but this incredible opportunity that lies in front of us for India with actionable points, things that we can actually do, not some nebulous, philosophical, we must come together, etc. Real things we can actually do. Incredible. I hope India really seizes this opportunity. Thank you very much, Abhijit, General Shukla, and Tehseen, as always, for being with me here on India Matters.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Mohit, you are known for your music. All your films, musics stay with us. till today. I'm a millennial and those music are kind of music. So whenever we say Mohit Suri film aa raha hai, we know the music will be good, right? It's a given. So you really work hard. But is this always like how you create your music? You need everything in place, the mood, the lighting, even when the person is in the studio and just singing. And also, how did you select your musicians that this person's voice is perfect for this song?
That's what I think, the amount you give to a song, that's how long it will last, I think. Everyone does the programming, everyone writes the words, everyone makes the thing. But the thing is how much you give, how much of heart you give to the lyrics or to the music or to the melody or to the singing. That's how long the song will last, is what I genuinely feel. If you don't give that love, you're not going to get it back. It's just a simple debit and credit procedure, I think, with the audience. I genuinely feel I don't have any special skill. I don't know any scale or anything else. It's just that I enjoy that process a lot. Give me an evening to just go for a film party or something, I'll skip it. But you give me like a struggling musician to go who has a great tune, some new guys, chill all night with them. I can do that. I can just sit there, make music and stuff like that. We just did that recently. Fahim came down. He just surprised us, and we met in my Bandra office, and Ahan was there, Aneet was there, and he made me hear his other songs and stuff like that. But it was it's so much fun, because I just think making music, film you still get to see something. Yeah. I think music is so amazing. You
don't need to see anything.
It's in the air, and suddenly it just comes together, and it's just, you can just feel it. And something you hear makes you feel something. It's just magical.
Is your business future ready? Join the 13-week strategic ESG certification program for business sustainability and growth for CXO and business leaders by NDTV, Terry, and Zenora. Master global ESG frameworks, gain real-world tools, and lead with impact. Starts August the 23rd. Enroll now and power your business with sustainability.
हेलो बोलिए मैडम, डब्बा ट्रेडिंग कब से चल रहा है पता है मैडम आपको? हम और आप तो जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था हमारा.
We investigated a shady advisory firm that has spent big bucks on advertising on the front pages of national dailies.
ये आपको बिल्कुल उसका ऐसे हल्का सा भी खौफ नहीं है.
मैडम एक बात को खौफ किस लिए रखना चाहिए तो बताओ, कौन सा गलत काम कर रहा हूँ मैं?
After our report, we also saw NSE came out with a cautionary circular to the investors. Market Regulator Securities and Exchange Board of India has also come out with a release talking about the actions that it has taken. Cyber complaint has also been filed against the entities involved in this entire Dabba trading scam.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Vanakkam Tamil Nadu.
Now the battle for Tamil Nadu 2026 is open now.
After Chief Minister Stalin rolls up his sleeve.
A very good evening. You're watching NDTV. I'm Gauri Dwivedi. Let's get you the top stories that we are tracking this hour. First up, Latest in the Uttarakashi cloudburst, where villages have been swept away. Over 50 people are missing. Rescue teams are at the spot. Prime Minister Modi has condoled the horrific tragedy. Home Minister Amit Shah has spoken to Chief Minister Pushkar Dhami regarding rescue operations. Enforcement Directorate has grilled Anil Ambani for nearly 10 hours today. Enforcement Directorate confronted Anil Ambani with a 10-point detailed questionnaire. It's likely that Anil Ambani will be summoned once again by the Enforcement Directorate. Trump versus India fight escalates. Trump doubles down on the tariff threat, sets a 24-hour deadline for India. Trump threatens 250% pharma tariffs. After a massive row erupted over CISF being inside the Parliament House, an allegation that was levelled by Mallikarjun Kharge of the Congress Party, the government has hit back saying there are only marshals and not CISF inside the well. The big story that we've been tracking on the show today, and NDTV has been on top of this story, which is the cloudburst and the subsequent flash floods that took place in Uttarkashi district of Uttarakhand. 4 people have died, scores are feared trapped under the debris, and 9 army personnel are missing after a cloudburst struck Uttarakhand's Uttarkashi district this afternoon, triggering a mudslide and flash floods that swept through a village, catching its residents by surprise. Horrifying visuals from the Dharali village in Uttarkashi show a massive stream of water that's gushing towards homes after the cloudburst in the catchment area of Kheer-Ganga river. At least half the village was buried under the fast-flowing mudslide of slush, rubble and water, officials said, as rescue personnel battle the elements in the ecologically fragile heights to contain the damage that took place this afternoon. All right, and let's get you now the 5 key defining visuals of this horrific tragedy. This is a true and horrifying extent of the Uttarkashi cloudburst. Big concrete houses swallowed by slush. The flash flood has swept away a huge area of the Dharali village, and you can see the extent of the tragedy in this first video that we are playing out right now. Let's put out the second video that tell you the extent of the damage that has been done. This is the exact moment when the tragedy struck in Dharoli village in Uttarkashi. This new video shows water and slush gushing down through the mountain and ravaging everything that came in its way. The third video, viewers, that we are putting out right now shows the shattering aftermath of the flash floods. Homes upon homes swept away and buried in slush. Next video that we are putting out for you, again one that helps you better understand the extent of this tragedy, which is another disturbing video that shows a car being swept away. Locals claim the passengers that were there were inside this vehicle, were stuck, and this also then brings us to tell you that there are 50 people who are reportedly missing in the flash floods, and that car, which had passengers, multiple passengers in it, was stranded. And that disturbing video tells you how people and property, everything is being damaged, which came in the way of this flash flood. And the last video that we're putting out is the army camp at Harshil, which had also been hit by the cloudburst. Images accessed exclusively by NDTV show the camp being surrounded by slush. At least 150 army personnel from this camp were one of the first set of responders as they rushed to rescue those trapped. In fact, IMD has issued a red alert in Uttarakhand, and this tells you the flash flood fury has now led to a massive red alert that's been issued, which is on till Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. Heavy 8:30 a.m. Heavy to very heavy rainfall is predicted. That's the forecast, and IMD has very categorically said avoid travel to hilly areas. That's the big red alert that's come out, viewers. And if you're watching this, make sure that you do not travel to any of the hilly areas. Let's now tell you the before and after visuals for you to better understand what really happened. On your screens on the left side is the before visuals. You can see hotels there all people there. It's bustling with action. So many people are there. And on the other side, right-hand side, the after picture that tells you what happened after houses crumbled in the face of fury after that flash flood. That's Dharali for you. And let's now tell you Sukhi Top, the other place where a flash flood took place. Again, one side of the screen is a visual and a story full of life, full of activity, full of day-to-day activities being undertaken by the people there. And on the other side is what happened when where places and that entire area was washed away by the flood. Let's also now, viewers, tell you this detailed report that we want to play out that tells you exactly how things unraveled today when the cloudburst took place today afternoon.
Nature's fury in full force. Death and devastation in Devbhoomi. A village washed away. Houses crumble in the face of raging waters. Screams and shouts of people running to save life. As a cloudburst triggered devastating flash floods in Dharali village in Uttarkashi district of Uttarakhand, multiple videos captured the scale and horror of the tragedy. This video shows the gushing water in full force, destroying everything in its way. Houses to cars to trees. Scared people scrambling to escape the advancing fury. Another video showed the sudden gush of water from the heights onto the unsuspecting village, sweeping all in the way with full force. An eyewitness documented the aftermath of nature's fury. Houses, cars, everything buried under the slush left behind by the flash floods. This video shows a man trying to navigate his way through the slush, falling in the effort. The cloudburst took place in the catchment area of the Kheer Ganga river, leading to the devastation of Dharali village in Uttarkashi. The area is just 4 kilometers from the Harshil army camp, which was also washed away. The mammoth tragedy overwhelmed the region and triggered an emergency multi-agency response.
धाराली में आई आपदा के कारण मलबा काफी ज्यादा आ गया है और वहां पर बचाव के काम तेजी से चल रहे हैं। वहां पर सेना के लोग, आईटीबीपी के लोग और एसडीआरएफ की टीमें वहां पहुंच गई है। लगभग 70-80 लोगों को अभी सुरक्षित स्थानों पर निकाल भी लिया गया है, जो बड़ी मैं समझता हूं कि बहुत तेजी से ये बचाव का काम वहां पर हुआ है। आपदा तो प्राकृतिक है, लेकिन उसका क्विक रिस्पांस टाइम कम से कम हो, वही हमारा एक मंत्र भी है। उसी मंत्र के आधार पर काम कर रहे हैं।
Teams of Army, NDRF, SDRF were rushed to the affected areas for rescue operation. A bridge leading to the affected also came down, snapping the connectivity and weather hampered the relief operations.
पुलिया भी वहां से बह गई है, तो उसके लिए हम लोग अभी बीआरओ से भी और ईएनसी इंजीनियर इन चीफ हमारे पीडब्ल्यूडी के हमारे साथ हैं। मौसम भी अभी इस ऐसी स्थिति नहीं है जिससे कि हम लोग हेली सर्विसेज को वहां के माध्यम से वहां पे राहत और रेस्क्यू कर सके।
Prime Minister Modi expressed condolences and assured that relief and rescue operations were being carried out under the supervision of the state government. Home Minister Amit Shah also dialed the Chief Minister to take stock of the relief.
कि नदियों के किनारे जो लोग घर बना लेते हैं, उनका इंक्रोचमेंट बहुत ज़्यादा कर देते हैं, तो ऐसे में ये जो नुकसान होता है इस तरीके का बहुत ज़्यादा होता है। पर अभी किसी को पता नहीं है कि वो किस वजह से वहाँ पर फ्लड आया था। यही वजह है कि उस पूरे इलाके को खाली कराकर उनको सुरक्षित स्थानों पर लाया जाएगा।
Uttarakhand has been witnessing heavy continuous rainfall this season, with major rivers including the Ganga and Haridwar remaining in spate. NDTV Bureau Report.
Kishore Rawat joins us live from Uttarkashi to tell us how things are looking right now on ground. Kishore, ये बताइए इस वक्त जो पूरा राहत का कार्य चल रहा है, जो पूरी रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन चल रही है, उसकी डिटेल बताइए अभी, क्योंकि 50 से ज़्यादा लोग अभी भी मिसिंग हैं। उस पर कोई अपडेट है आपके पास?
अभी फिलहाल अपडेट यही है कि इसमें 4 लोगों की डेथ बताई जा रही है और रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन युद्ध स्तर पर चल रहा है। एक अच्छी बात यह है कि बारिश थमी है और उम्मीद ये की जा रही है कि जैसे कल सुबह मौसम साफ होगा तो जो चॉपर्स है वो टेक ऑफ करेंगे और वहाँ पे तेज़ी से जो हर्षिल है वहाँ पर आर्मी का जो ये बेस कैंप है वहाँ पे हेलीपैड से जो घायल है ज़्यादा उनको लेके आएंगे और बाकी जो टीमें हैं उनको वहाँ रेस्क्यू के लिए पहुँचाएंगे। चूँकि जिस तरीके से फ्लड था और एक वीडियोस में साफ दिख रहा था कि किस तरीके से वहाँ पर एक कार में बहुत तेज़ी से लोग लेके भागे, कुछ लोग अपनी जान बचाने के लिए लगे लेकिन वो चपेट में आ गए और नंबर्स की बात करें तो शायद ये नंबर्स बढ़ सकते हैं, नंबर ऑफ डेथ्स। इसके अलावा जो लापता लोग हैं क्योंकि मलबा जो है वो बहुत बड़ी तादाद में यानी हज़ारों टन की तादाद में वो वहाँ पर फैला है जिसकी वजह से वहाँ पर भारी नुकसान हो सकता है। अब इसी को देखते हुए वहाँ पर जो एक्स्ट्रा रिलीफ फोर्स है उनको भेजा जा रहा है। खुद जो हर्षिल के पास सूखी टॉप के उधर एक बादल फटा है जिसमें जो सेना का कैंप है यानी एक नहीं दो बड़ी आपदाएं हैं जिसमें काफ़ी नुकसान हुआ है और जो सेना के जवान हैं वो जहां पर उनके कैंप में आया वो वहां पर भी रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन चलाए हुए हैं। इसके अलावा जो दूसरी जगह जो ये जो सिविल एरिया है वहां पर भी ये बादल फटा है, जिस तरीके से लैंडस्लाइड हुआ है बहुत बड़ी तादाद में मलबा पूरे कई घरों को उसने उड़ा दिया है तो वहाँ पे भी रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन चला है। यानी चुनौतियाँ एक नहीं बल्कि दो है, दो जगहों पर रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन चल रहा है। इसके अलावा SDRF, NDRF और तमाम जो टीमें हैं उनको रवाना किया गया है और कई जगह पे रास्ते में बैठे हुए क्योंकि पूरे रास्ते भर में जिस तरीके से हम देहरादून से आते हुए पूरे रास्ते भर में कई जगह बड़े लैंडस्लाइड हमें मिले, कई जगह पत्थर गिर रहे थे तो आप समझ सकते हैं कि उस रास्ते से आना और पूरे रास्ते से वहाँ पर जाना कोई आसान बात नहीं है, लेकिन फिर भी रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन तेजी से चल रहा है। जी
किशोर रावत, हमसे बात करने के लिए शुक्रिया। That was my colleague Kishore giving us an update in terms of how things are looking right now on ground and an update as far as the rescue and relief operations are concerned. Shifting focus now to the other big story that we are tracking on the show, which is industrialist Anil Ambani, who is in ED soup. He was grilled for nearly 10 hours by Enforcement Directorate. This is with regard to fraud worth 17,000 crore rupees. Excuse me. The big allegation against Anil Ambani is that his companies had borrowed and taken loans worth 17,000 crore rupees from banks, but that money did not go into the purposes for which it was actually taken and instead was siphoned off into several shell companies. In that regard, Enforcement Directorate is now set to summon Anil Ambani yet again, simply because the investigating agency was not satisfied with the responses that came in from the beleaguered billionaire. Let's quickly now play out this ground report that my colleague Anushka has filed from outside ED headquarters, where she was tracking the story through the day.
After more than 9 hours of questioning, finally we are showing you the visuals of Anil Ambani coming outside of the ED headquarters. The ED has called him to appear in front of the ED headquarters after a week or so, and he is most likely to be appearing on that date. But we do know that he has been questioned for about 9 hours in the money laundering investigation of of money to the tune of rupees 17,000 crore rupees. Now ED has in fact also launched a parallel investigation to in fact check the quid pro quo arrangement that was made between the Yes Bank promoters and the senior executives of the Anil Ambani group. That ED is in fact also has in fact also launched a parallel investigation. Not just that, there are 3 Anil Ambani Reliance Group companies that are under the radar, that is Reliance House Finance Limited, Reliance Commercial Finance Limited and Reliance Communications. And what so far in today's questioning, ED had asked multiple questions to Anil Ambani linked to his role in the loan sanctioning that was done between 2017 to 19, and several banks also who had in fact sanctioned money to Anil Ambani have been written by the ED. They are seeking details of what all verifications they did, whether or not they checked the credit scores, and what did they do, what necessary actions did they take after they got to know that the 3 companies have defaulted. So far Anil Ambani has failed to give any kind of satisfactory answer to the ED, and that is why the ED is likely to summon him after 1 week, and Anil Ambani will have to appear in front of the ED and answer all those questions, because this is a part of a PMLA probe that the ED has launched against Anil Ambani Group companies. With camera person Gauri Prasad, this is Anushka Garg for NDTV.
The other big story that we are tracking, which US President Donald Trump on Tuesday said that he would increase tariffs charged on Indian imports substantially over the next 24 hours because of India's continued purchase of Russian oil. This is yet another threat that has come in from Donald Trump. He made that threat 24 hours earlier as well. And in fact, he said that India has not been a good trading partner because they do a lot of business with us, but we don't do business with them. So if he settled on 25% tariff, but I think I'm going to raise that very substantially over the next 24 hours because they're buying Russian oil. This was Donald Trump speaking to CNBC in a televised interview. That's a television news network in the US. But the larger point here is one, that Donald Trump has hinted for the very first time that he will impose tariffs, or he could impose tariffs on pharmaceutical sector, which till now had been kept outside the ambit with regard to tariffs. The second important part is that he's doubling down on his threat yet again as far as India's purchase of Russian oil is concerned. India is the world's second largest oil importer and has exercised discretion in buying and ramping up purchases from Russia in the last 3 years as the Russian oil prices tanked. Now, how this is going to pan out remains to be a matter of big focus for NDTV. Let me now, in fact, also tell you in terms of fact check that NDTV has done. We've got you fact checks in terms of some of the threats that have been made by Donald Trump and how they really stand as far as facts are concerned. My colleague Shiv Aroor has those details.
And now for the big fact check of Trump. Remember, Trump over the last few days has been spreading this narrative that India is somehow a tariff tyrant, a country that is completely unfriendly to trade and business because of its record high tariffs. In the next 60 seconds, I'm going to completely bust that myth with data, not my opinion, with data. India is not the most protectionist economy, and I'm going to prove it to you with some data and figures. The mean tariff from India is 4.6% lower than many other countries, and I will show you where that actually stands. A big portion of imports is duty-free from the United States at this point of time. Trump never mentions that. Zero or low duty on key US exports. Trump does not mention that. Low duties on US oil, coal, pharmaceuticals, as well as machinery. Trump makes no mention of that, even though those are big industries in the United States. India is one of the most open and accessible markets for the United States. Trump never mentions that, and I will prove that with data, because 45% of US exports to India face a tariff of under 5%. Have you ever heard Trump mention that? He never will, for obvious reasons. Steady tariff reduction has been taking place on US exports to India since 1991, and I will show you where those figures actually stand, because US imposes very high tariffs in sensitive sectors. The US under Trump pretends like it has no tariffs. It's India that does all of it. I will show you how wrong Trump is. Over 100% US tariffs on dairy, agriculture, and the automotive sector. Now let's get on to some even more important data, because remember, Trump says that the mean tariff in India makes India absolutely the most unfriendly country to do trade with. Well, take a look at some of America's other big trading partners. India stands at 4.6% mean tariff. The EU itself is at 5%, Vietnam 5.1%, Indonesia 5.7%, and Bangladesh almost double of that at 10.6%. So India is by no means the biggest as far as that is concerned. Now let's show you how America has benefited from lower tariffs in India. Let's go item by item to show you how Trump and previous administrations beyond the narrative have actually benefited. Motorcycles, the previous duty was 50, now it's 40, 50 to 30, it's gone, that's above 1600 cc. Other items as well have benefited from lower tariffs from India. Bourbon whiskey 150% earlier, 100 now. Switches 20 to 10. Flavors and essences have gone down by a factor of 5 from 100% to just 20%. So it's not like tariffs have not been going down. Now here are the high tariff products in the United States. You will never ever see Trump or his chorus line of congressmen ever talking about these products that are exported from the United States that see these incredibly high tariffs. Look at this. Sour cream 197%, tobacco 183%, peanut butter 131%, rum and tequila 51%, Whey protein and whey 39%, milk and cream 35%, cheese 23%, leather and footwear nearly 24%, and auto at 19.28%. Some of the highest tariffs in the world, courtesy Trump's America. And finally, agri-tariffs. Remember, every country in the world protects its agriculture, but Trump makes it look like India is unique in protecting its agricultural industry. Just take a look at some of these figures to give you a sense of it. And these I've chosen countries that have agricultural economies. Switzerland 28.5%, Norway 31.1%, 23.5% on Iceland, Korea is 57%, and India is 39%. So these are the facts that Trump will never tell you. This is the narrative, very much part of the muscle flexing to try and paint India, to defame India as a tariff tyrant. Well, the numbers speak for themselves.
All right, on that note, viewers, a quick break. We return on the other side with more stories, including the latest in terms of the political row that's escalated between Congress and BJP over whether or not there are CISF personnel inside Parliament. Stay tuned for that and more.
And you know, that's why it's being said that after Kaho Na Pyaar Hai, this is the film that has got two superstar debutants who are becoming superstars. But what was this faith that you had on these two that you know that shows on screen?
You know, you don't plan to make a blockbuster. You plan to make a good film. And that's what I think they never let me, you know, they didn't put that pressure on me to live up to. They never gave me a number that we have to hit or a so-called figure that I have to open to. There was, all these trappings were just not there, which normally producers do end up putting that pressure.
Fresh controversy has hit Parliament, a storm now brewing over Leader of Opposition Mallikarjun Kharge's explosive claim that CISF personnel were present inside the Rajya Sabha chamber. Kharge has called it a serious breach of privilege and demanded accountability. The government has hit back, saying that there were only marshals inside, and these claims are in fact baseless and false. Let's quickly now play out this conversation that my colleague Aishwarya had with T. Siva of the DMK.
Union Parliamentary Affairs Minister also said that whosoever enters into the house, they are considered as marshals.
And then I say, what dress you are in, I don't know. But you are a journalist. You are a media person. You will be seen only that. So CASF has come inside with the dress of the marshal. Because whoever has to come there, they have the uniform. They wear the uniform, but they are CASF. Let them come and explain. Why you deputed CASF staff there instead of the earlier existing security? What fault did you find with them?
Mr. Rijidu explained when we asked him, he said that to save whosoever is sitting on the chair, if any member physically attacks the chair, then the marshals are being called in.
Today nothing happened. Yesterday nothing happened. On Friday nothing happened. We were only shouting, but we were about to be attacked. Never the opposition members attempt to do anything which is untoward, not even near the table. How can you presume that they're going to attack the chairman? We are not that barbarian or undemocratic or unruly. We are all well behaved.
Do you think this is unprecedented in the history of
unprecedented, unbecoming, that should not be repeated at any cost in future?
Turning attention now to Bangladesh, where it's been a year since Sheikh Hasina was ousted after a bloody student protest that preceded it. And let's play out this report that tells you what all has happened in the last 1 year in Bangladesh.
A year since the Sheikh Hasina government was toppled and Sheikh Hasina left Bangladesh, the country still has no elected government.